Hello and welcome to Weekly Open. I'm Brian. Just me and Josh on the call today. Josh, how you doing, buddy?
Good. We're here. We're live. We're with you.
That's right. We're with the folks. Before we get to the full show, let's talk about FTX. Go to weeklyopen.com/FTX. You can trade directly from one asset to the other. You can earn yield on your tokens. Up to 8%, or exactly 8% up to $10,000. 5% beyond $10,000. You can do it on FTX. Track your portfolios you've known and loved since 2014. And trade with the best. You know what? They're showing NFTs even now. I know Josh wants to talk about NFTs. So
I will talk about anything. How dare you? I don't talk about NFTs because people don't like my takes on things that aren't incredibly bullish, you know.
Mm-hmm. Well,
to say I don't like something is so opinionated and stupid, but that's my stance. Sorry, that's what it is.
Yeah. Well, Josh, today is ETF day, and you see it on the chart exactly. Well, you don't.
Well, can you fill me in on, because I feel like I've been out of the loop. It's like there's a bunch of ETFs that are semi-approved or something. What's going on?
No, BITO. It's a bad ticker. The ProShares ETF. It's a futures-based ETF. Is live at this moment. They rang the opening bell this Tuesday morning, October 19th, 2021, the year of our Lord, and and the very first Bitcoin futures-based ETF was trading. Now there will be in the U.S. There will be a flurry of them that go live, as we're expecting Valkyrie's BTFD ETF to go live later this week, maybe like tomorrow, Thursday. Yeah, so that was going to be BTF, and obviously the internet was like, do you mean BTFD? And if not, you should mean BTFD. And they said, sure, we mean BTFD, that's fine. So BTFD, clearly the futures-based ETF that will win, based on name alone, is going to go live this week. There will be more. Basically, if they only did one, they're just king-making a singular ETF company, right? Like, because these are real companies that structure these, and they make fees and all that stuff, and like they don't want to be a kingmaker. So they would have been a kingmaker if they only approved one. So a bunch of people put them in line, and they're live. They exist. So we can go click over. It is trading. BITO is trading at $41. It did a whole bunch of dumb, goofy gyrations this morning. But it is based on CME futures and money market accounts. It's cash settled. It has no impact on physical Bitcoin. And therefore, some people say, like, you know, it won't be very impactful overall. It is also potentially subject to contango effects, where because they own near-dated futures, which exist at a premium, as those near expiry, the premium starts to dissipate. So there's and they have to roll out of those and buy the futures that are farther out. So they're kind of constantly creating this contango or slight premium to underlying Bitcoin. And in some products, that causes them to underperform the actual product over time. I'm explaining it to you right now, Ian. I'm explaining contango. So if you look at oil markets or gold markets or others, you can see some of these effects. There are differences because there's not quite the same like storage requirements, obviously, for Bitcoin, that like when you have oil-based futures, sometimes those could be based on physical delivery, even though they're futures, or, there's a variety of things that could impact that. So the contango may not be like terrible, but it probably will be a mild impact in the market, so that, if you have Bitcoin go up, BITO, whatever it's called, BITO, might not go up quite as much or whatever. But it creates a fully fledged legacy market system thing that people could trade in. It opens up Bitcoin trading to potentially accounts, if not individuals, where people didn't used to be able to trade. And in my mind, that's a good thing. Is it as good as a spot ETF? No, but it's a start. So, Josh, do you feel like you're more informed now?
Yeah, that sums up my thoughts. I think contango and backwardation are super interesting for physical delivered stuff.
Yeah.
It's also like news based, or like if there's something going on in China, the futures markets will react to that. Depending on the duration of the contract and whatever. Are these the usual like 3 month, 6 month, biannual, whatever?
I didn't look at the exact contracts that they were required to hold because, so like some futures based ETFs, they kind of set up a structure for how they hold what they do, but they are based on like near term. So yeah, but probably mostly like 3 and 6 month. They're not like holding, some futures contract that's 2 years out. So there's a lot of interesting stuff there, and 2 takeaways. Let's go ahead and get them out there. Potential takeaways. 1, because the Bitcoin futures have existed for 4 years. That was Gary Gensler's comments this morning on kind of justification for why a futures-based Bitcoin ETF was okay, whereas spot-based are not yet. He said it ensures to bring projects within the investor protection perimeter because futures have been regulated for 4 years. Something worth noting, Ethereum-based futures have also existed for a couple years now, right? So this probably paves the way to an Ethereum futures ETF as well. Logical conclusions would guide you to believe that ProShares and Valkyrie and the other folks that are doing these are also going to submit Ethereum applications. I'm not sure that that's like well considered yet. So it might be a bullish impetus at some point for Ethereum as people start to realize that. Thing number 2, Barry from Grayscale, said this morning that they are working with the New York Stock Exchange to convert GBTC to a physical ETF, and there's no actual sign that has any case to be approved, but they are front running the news, if you will. So there you go.
Can we just let Bitcoin have its day? Bitcoin ETF, literally the holy grail of products, goes live today. And what are you talking about? You talking about an Ethereum ETF. How dare you?
I'm talking about a potential logical conclusion. An extension of logic from this news could lead to that news. And somebody says, I bet you'd love that later. I have more Bitcoin than Ethereum. I have very little Ethereum. I have very significant amounts of Bitcoin. So I would love for nothing more than Bitcoin to just have massive price exploration and for everything else to go to zero on a relative basis. Up in USD, gang, would make me perfectly happy.
I mean, dominance helped you make that decision, hopefully.
Yes.
Even though I think dominance is a joke. It does work on occasion.
Yes.
And I said this in a video earlier this week, but on BTC, it wanted to inverted head and shoulders up here. It just was too bullish. It just went off. And ETH, if you look at ETH versus BTC on the USD pairs, you can see the IHS on ETH. ETH is still bullish. I still think ETH goes 6K plus.
Same.
But you're doing the right thing in that you're rotating.
Rotating. I'm a rotator.
The question with the rotation though is where do you let go? How much do you let go of the BTC stuff? Is it spot? Is it leverage? You don't need to answer those questions. But I'm just saying, like, that's the finesse. There is key to like min-maxing this.
Yeah, I think you basically have to watch the ETH BTC chart as much as you hate it, and also
we'll pull it up.
I got it.
Why do you think I hate it?
Well,
who trades this chart and makes money?
I actually
in either direction.
I guess I have.
Name one guy. Name him. Name her.
I mean, I let go of most of my Ethereum exposure when it was looking weak in this consolidation. So I guess I did trade this, 0.068-ish was probably where I let go of most of my ETH exposure. I can't remember. I have to look back. Maybe it was this one back here. Maybe it was even higher. Maybe it was 0.072, 0.073. And I think I can look at this chart, and 0.055 doesn't look like much of a floor to me. It's losing the 200-day. I would really like to see ETH go into the 0.044 range, something like that. I think this was a clear breakdown of a multi-month consolidation, and therefore I actually preempted it more than anything. But I got out thinking that was the likely outcome as this news-based futures ETF situation was kind of rearing its head. I actually think ETH USD looks really good. I just think that the easy mode answer is that we're doing the exact same thing we've done before. And we're just gonna pump BTC and then pump ETH after. And I hope that it's so easy, but that's how I played it.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. ETH, if you're trading it in a vacuum, looks great. The BTC pair is kind of scary. I think a couple weeks ago we were talking about a potential flag situation or something. But yeah, having 5 weeks of down is not good. Q4, ETH never outperforms BTC. It's bad to have that, death knell just sitting there the whole time, at least for me, because backtesting says you never outperform BTC in Q4.
All right, let's answer Daniel here. Futures ETF is not going to cause BTC to outperform like in 2017. Nobody cares about futures. LMFAO. All right, Daniel. The futures ETF alone is not necessarily what we care about. Even in a vacuum, Bitcoin's propensity to run on a seasonal basis as people take profits from a 10-month altcoin season where there was always some alt running and outperforming BTC, it was due. Bitcoin was due. Sans ETF. When you include the ETF, which is a, for sure, bullish catalyst, even if it is not a black hole of physical Bitcoin, it is an avenue for people to gain access to the price movements of Bitcoin in regulated traditional markets with accounts that they previously perhaps did not have access to, such as self-directed 401ks, where previously they might have not been able to buy GBTC spot because it was over the counter, or because it was at carrying a negative 15% premium or a 15 to 18% discount at all times and was not advantageous for them to participate in. The futures ETF, while perhaps not ideal relative to a spot-based ETF, is still a decent product to get Bitcoin exposure. So, you're wrong, okay? You're just wrong.
I agree with all that. I also think it's just a sentiment and approval thing. I mean, it's such a huge seal of approval that the regulators are like, yeah, we like this. It's fine. It allows legacy, allows the richest of the richers to get in and feel good about it. I didn't realize ETFs. So the first ETF ever was in 1993. But the first gold ETF was 2004. Is that right?
That late? Sounds about right.
Because when you look at, I was just looking at this, but if you look at the gold market post ETF, I mean, it's not pulling up correctly, but anyway, point is, people have been talking about Bitcoin ETF for 10 years. It feels like, if not more.
Yeah. So Elangelo has it right. Anything that gives exposure is great.
Exactly.
There's a variety of reasons why, the ETF, the futures ETF is quite arbitrable relative to futures markets. So the ETF, if there is demand there, eventually that demand will trickle to other markets because CME futures markets would start to elevate for the ARB. And then the futures to cash market would be wider than anticipated. So people will go buy it. It's just going to have an impact. There's nothing you can do about it. Suck it up. Get over yourself. You're wrong. It's not the same as like locking Bitcoin inside some mountain like GBTC does, but it is a good thing.
You caught me mid-sip. Yeah, of course it's good. End of discussion. Doesn't really matter what people want to think. But yeah, of course. Even if it's a sell the news or whatever people are talking about, I don't care. Chart looks great to me. Send it. Send it to 100K.
Matthias Hesse says, because it's easier for some in terms of accounting, compliance, current setup, taxes, etc., such as custody, account access. There you go. Yeah, Eric from the internet has been tracking the volume. It's been very popular this morning. Why no God candle is Jordan's question. Don't think it's a bad question. I think in a vacuum, Bitcoin is at resistance. A God candle was one potential outcome, but it's also kind of the least likely. I do think that we're going to lead ourselves to price exploration, but perhaps we make people kind of sweat it, get them lured back into other things for a bit, maybe even have a little down here or there. I don't know, trading's not always that easy, but I think the end of the year setup is still in Bitcoin's favor.
I mean, we're basically at all-time highs, and we talked about this in the pre-show. I don't feel like we're at all-time highs. I don't know. Maybe I'm just numb. Maybe I'm just a cold shell of a soul at this point. I look at the chart. It says 62.5. It doesn't register. Maybe I don't know. I don't know what to think about. But I said I won't be euphoric until it's at 250. I think 100 to me is easy expectation. 120 is what the technicals want. I don't know if we'll get there, but I'll take it. We could have this very similar to 2013 in some of the alts in 2017, how we had this like double echo thing twice in 1 year, double bubble or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Let me pull up.
Well, you're pulling that up just on the mid time frames. The 4 hour did had a lot of absorption in the low 40Ks. And it's just kind of been up, consolidate, up, consolidate, up, consolidate. And now we're just real close to all-time highs. This could definitely have some down days. Like we could have a minus 10% down day and it'd basically present a buy opportunity while also getting rid of whatever margin exists out there. Although I don't think margin's been that high. So I think it's just kind of a coin flip. Like there's nothing that says it has to go one way or the other right this moment. But I do think like all the long-term trends and everything that you're looking at indicate that higher is the path of least resistance at this moment. The question is like, do we have a shallow retest, deep retest? Like what's going to punish the most people to prevent them from enjoying the upside if we go chase that, what's that 2-year MA? The red line up there.
Yeah, that's the multiplier of the 2-year. The red is the 5x of the green.
Gotcha.
But yeah, you look at Google Trends, it's kind of quiet on BTC. Just anecdotally, no one in my
cares.
family or immediate circle has reached out to me. I did have one person actually text me, but nobody's, I don't know about you guys who are watching or listening later, but nobody's really talking about it other than the ETF, which is great.
I didn't get like texts from family or anybody, like people, people that pay attention to markets. Nobody was like, hey, did you see this about the Bitcoin ETF? I think this is mostly still institutional interest. And then I think we'll probably see like evidence over coming weeks of how people are potentially arbitraging this, how they're doing kind of mixed positions. I did see that if your goal was to short the futures ETF and then long GBTC via a spot equivalent carrying a discount, the reason that actually doesn't work as a trade, which I wish it did, but the reason it potentially doesn't work as a trade is they're not cross marginable. That was something that Dan from CMS Holdings brought up, and then I believe Nomad confirmed on Twitter is you can't cross margin the two products. So like carrying that trade might be a bit of a challenge. But that would be the type of thing that could be interesting. And we'll see, like, maybe people do it anyway. Maybe people figure out other ways to do arbitrage between this ETF and other markets. We don't know yet. We'll have to see. I'm not smart. I'm not smart enough to know the answers to that.
No, between that stuff and options, I'm just completely lost. Like, I just figured out how to trade, guys, and you're throwing out Greek alphabet stuff at me. Like, come on, settle down. There was a lot of talk about the BTC Grayscale stuff being at a negative 20%, which I don't know what to think about that, because why would you be selling? Why would you be selling at a discount? Wouldn't you want to be buying here?
For GBTC?
Yeah, like if even, let's say there's a 10% chance it gets converted to be an ETF, right? Is this pricing in a lack of confidence in an ETF conversion?
Yes, I think so. I think if there was more confidence that it would be converted soon, that the premium would get eaten more easily. Some discount is normal. Like in these structured products with high fees, a 2% fee might equate, Lynn Alden said this on some podcast I listened to, a 2% fee might equate to a relatively normal, like 8 to 10% discount in a structured product like this, where, you know, you have a security that's wrapping other assets with a high fee. That's more normal. 18% is not very normal. So I feel like we should be seeing a much smaller discount in GBTC. I don't think the market is expressing confidence in conversion to an ETF because physically backed ETFs are just not really on the table, it seems. Like this got fast-tracked because Gary Gensler was like, yeah, I'm okay with a futures-based ETF because this is a product that's been under regulated markets for 4 years. They don't have a stranglehold on spot markets, which a physical ETF would be denominated against. So I think you'll probably see some like stepping stones from Coinbase and FTX and like Gemini, you know, kind of your US regulatory friendly exchanges who work with regulators when they can and just try to, like, as they make stepping stone type of moves, you might get better hints towards physically settled ETFs.
Yeah, and I think Satoshi would be rolling in his grave, or is rolling in his grave, seeing like this is not crypto. People are talking a lot about it in the comments, like not your keys, not your coins, whatever. But there's like this dichotomy between number go up exposure and like crypto in crypto's sake, you know?
Yeah, I mean, there's different ways to crypto, right? Like this is the way to get old regular money into crypto, but it doesn't mean it's the same. Like these are not following the same thesis life-wise as like physical Bitcoins, you know, that you have on your own wallets. They're just not the same thing. But if you're going to take over the world, in some part, you have to be integrated with it, you know?
Yeah, you can't just, for me, the other example is Monero, where it does what it does better than anything else. It's just not listed anywhere. So it's kind of stalled out price-wise, you know?
Yeah, so that'd be interesting. Josh, why don't, unless you have other stuff to talk about with the ETF, why don't we just give coverage of what it means elsewhere? Both of us seem to be relatively confident in the dominance trade. So we probably don't see a ton of upside on Bitcoin relative pairs unless we see like kind of obvious flatness or consolidation or down moves in Bitcoin. My problem is I don't see sideways being a long-term outcome here for Bitcoin, and like sideways being 60 to 64K. If it's just stayed between 60 and 64K, then sure, I think alts would get a nice bid. I just feel like I'd rather be in Bitcoin in case it goes up. And then if I wasn't in Bitcoin, I'd probably just rather be in dollars because I think it's going down, you know? It seems like...
I agree with that. No, I agree with that. Bitcoin should outperform here, and if it doesn't, everything else is going to die faster than BTC.
Yeah. And the only outcome that I could see alts outperforming would be lower time frame. Like they do well for 3 or 4 hours because Bitcoin's sideways in these like narrow time frame candles.
Yeah, I agree. All the BTC charts look terrible. Dot BTC actually looks okay. Um, one thing real quick about BTC, you could just, draw horizontal lines or whatever on this and be done with it. But I'm gonna pitchfork it because that's my thing. You could just do this.
I think that line you just drew is the only thing that matters. But
if it's out of this range, we're bullish, right? If we're above this, but we could very well just bounce around in here.
Oh, that would be very annoying
for a long time. But I will be using this personally as a barometer for how bullish we are. But obviously, if we're at all-time highs in price discovery, it's pretty bullish. And the easiest thing to do is to just fib this out, and that also gives you 100K.
Yeah,
85,
87 ish was my first target. 1.618, 2.618, 100K. I don't really know what to expect out of that. I've set a target in my head, 125K, mostly because I feel like it'll go above 100K and people will immediately start talking about 200K and like forget that there's a bunch of stuff in between, and then they get trapped somewhere in there. But I don't know.
I also like this as a sell area. If we break the range, which is still 100 to 140 by the end of the year.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm just nonplussed, I guess. I'm milk toast. It's inevitability. That's all it is to me. I don't know.
It's inevitable. You say it's inevitability, but like to you, if it goes to 50K, that means nothing relative to the inevitability. Like right. you're not saying, up only, no dips. You're saying eventually up, so therefore I don't care everything between.
Right. Like 52 would be a gift of a buy. I would love 52. But yeah, I'm not concerned with this looks on the 4 hour, it looks bear divvy, it looks rising wedgie.
Yeah, it's extended. It's a little extended.
It's very excited,
But it could thrust up and then chill. Like it doesn't have to just nuke. All right, I want to talk about Ethereum and then we'll move out. And I'm going to start on the USD pair. You already mentioned. In isolation, this is a nice looking chart. Like this is a daily chart of Ethereum with a third high. They're not quite equal, but they're close enough. I am not bullish on, or not bearish on this chart. It's just on that relative chart that it doesn't look as good. If Bitcoin dumps, I'm going to expect Ethereum to go to like 3K. If Ethereum gets over 41, 42, 6K is kind of the natural progression. Measured move. There's a lot of things you'd call this. Cup and handle. It's kind of a classic cup and handle, isn't it?
Oh yeah. I'm probably the most bullish on ETH I've been since October 2020. Because of that bullish TK recross above cloud with the cup and handle.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks so good. The problem is just BTC is just smacking the pants off of it.
Yeah, and all that takes is like 7, 14, 21 days of this just kind of staying in this horizontal progression and Bitcoin going up during that time, and then like the relative pair, you feel sad because you lost out. So I think this is really one of those ones where you basically just wait for the breakout or wait for the strength on the relative pair and then try to make the move from then.
Yeah, I don't know if it was you. Somebody on Twitter was talking about this. It's a common thing to do is use BTC as your collateral to margin long ETH USD.
Yeah, I mentioned that.
And then you just like swimming in money. Because margin longing a breakout here is just like the simplest trade for me because it's all-time highs, it's chart pattern, it's cloud. The targets are obvious. I don't know.
It's a way to be relatively diversified on the relative pair while maintaining so you're maintaining exposure to both, but you're not missing out on the Bitcoin move. The problem I ran into when I did this in 2020 was I would have been better with Bitcoin collateral and long Bitcoin, right? Because it ended up Bitcoin continued to outperform Ethereum. So I was leveraged long ETH and I did okay on that. I just didn't do as well as if I just leveraged long what my collateral was. But the problem is that might not always be true. So if Ethereum actually goes faster against your expectations, your collateral was still, you still kept your sats safe, and your upside would be in Ethereum. Even though it moved faster, that's okay. You still had Ethereum exposure. So I feel like you do kind of get like a double win without having to know which one's better, assuming you're comfortable being denominated in Bitcoin in the first place. So yes, that was my plan before. I'm planning to do something similar this time. I don't know what exposure I'll get. Like, will I margin 20% of my portfolio or 50%? I'm not exactly sure, because what you have to do is you have to have collateral of a certain portion of your portfolio and then achieve leverage of a certain portion of your portfolio. So if your whole portfolio is not collateralized, then you have to go higher leverage to achieve the same relative total portfolio margin. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense to me. And I agree. That's why, I think Kobe said it best when he said, margin is for poor people.
Yeah, like I think if you
can shove all in with a bigger stack if you're confident on less risk, essentially, because you're not going to get margin called, right?
Yeah, I think if you have like 25% of your portfolio collateralized, I mean, then what would you have to do to get a 1x equivalent margin of your base position? You'd have to be like 4x margin on that, and that's just too much. So like, I think if you're 2x margined of what you collateralize, maybe that's a tolerable risk, but I'm not 100% sure. All right.
Yeah, I just don't think about it. I'm not a min-maxer like that. I just look at the chart. I'm totally like smooth brained when it comes to that stuff, because if I'm confident in the trade, I can size up in the position and not worry about it, and away it goes, right? I was just measuring the ETH versus BTC USD percentage moves that we expect.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely bigger in BTC, but if you can time it right, that's the key.
Might be able to get both.
Yeah.
Josh and Brian, this is from Verdant Wave. If you had 5K to buy spot today with a sell target of late November to mid-December, would BTC be your buy? My question for you, Verdant, is why is November to December your target date? Why do you care about the date? Those are probably my least favorite months for selling. Because if you buy something today with the expectation of it going up, I'd rather hold off on having to owe taxes on that until January, if I can. So I don't know what your point for why to sell then is.
I mean, honestly, here, if I missed all the BTC stuff, I would throw it in ETH, because ETH hasn't moved yet. That's what I would do. Even though the ETH BTC chart looks like junk, I don't know. That's just my feeling. I don't have a ETH position margin long anyway. Spot position, yeah, but
also I think, yeah, if you have 5K and you're saying like, okay, I don't know if that's a lot of money or not a lot of money. Are you lotto ticketing? Like, you might be better off waiting for a good entry in an altcoin and then doing that. Like, start with BTC, wait for a good entry in an altcoin. It depends on what your goals are. Like, you might turn your 5K into 10K. Like, on the portfolio equivalency, if I double my portfolio from today, I'm totally euphoric, right? So if Bitcoin doubles, I'm totally euphoric. If I'm not like totally euphoric from that dollar notional amount of doubling, then like seeking a double in a major is not the way to go, because I don't think you're going to get like just a 10x or something out of Bitcoin immediately. Like, it might take a decade. I don't know. Or I don't know how long that would take. A lot longer than random altcoins.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to bet it all on black, just throw it in Doge. Doge has honestly pretty good potential here. It's probably looked the best it's looked since the Head and Shoulders breakdown.
It's so gross.
In June.
What's the Doge BTC chart look like?
It's probably 400 sats still. Let me look. Yeah, 400. This looks terrible.
So bad. It looks exactly like we said it would look.
It looks
Not.
horrible. El horrible.
This looks
this is
exactly as we drew this at some point, like these little spikes.
I know
up.
you definitely did for sure.
Yeah.
Because it belongs down here for sure. You know, at 100.
Going back to 100. It looks terrible, and it's going to go down another 80% at least, because that's destiny.
An example of a chart, you know, I hold some. That's why I'm looking at it. Not on the BTC pair. Just avoid that.
There are people that have been holding this in hopium since they bought the top at 1,000 sats. They're already down 60% relative to BTC.
Doge, yeah. Doge probably has too many bag holders to do anything now. The miners are still making a crazy amount of money per day.
They'll just keep selling it.
Stellar, you know, this setup in a vacuum, minus the ticker. This is what you look for me. We're above the 200, I think. Yeah, we're above the 200, above the cloud. This looks pretty good. Just saying.
Okay, I want to talk about one that is hilarious. Freaking Tezos. It just washed out the entire move that it had relative to Bitcoin. Like, it found an attempt at all-time high, and then it ran straight away from it. It looks okay again. I'm not gonna lie, like, it looks okay again. Do I want to hold it? No, because I think it just went back to BTC relative jail. But it does look okay again on the dollar pair. Like, it kind of recovered itself, but freaking, like, Tezos just could not handle going up. Like, it was too much for it. I don't know what my target would be on this. Like, at this point, I'd probably just wait for clearance of at least that prior high, low $7s, and then see, like, if the relative pair sucks or not. On the relative pair, you could probably buy here if you don't care about everything else in a vacuum, and then stop out if your weekly closes below this 20-week. It's been decent over its lifespan of kind of respecting those trends with that. But that's probably one of the funnier alts for me to look at, track, see how it's doing. You have any thoughts about it?
Yeah, I hold some Tezos. Excuse me. Had to clear my throat.
That bag got in your way there.
Bag in my throat. The issue is, I had people asking me about this too. Tezos has never had like a crazy bull run. It has a great like multi-month trend, but it kind of looks like Link in that it's just kind of bouncing around, ping-ponging highs and lows. I don't know, you know.
Yeah.
I don't feel great about it here, but I don't feel terrible about it either.
Another one that we constantly look for potential strength is kind of the DeFi landscape as a whole. I'm going to use Aave as my example of this.
Oof.
So bad. I mean, it just drip, 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 bleh, drip, 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 bleh. Like the 200-week Aave BTC 0.002 something. This line just looks like it's going to get tapped. That's also back to the January 2018 levels. I can't believe Aave is that old, but it is. So that was the exit pump in 2018. Seems like a reasonable retest. I like DeFi stuff. I like it, but good gracious, this is the long consolidation. I mean, February 2021, if I had, like, I was so exposed, and then I stayed exposed throughout a lot of this initial sideways before I finally gave up on it. If I just stuck here, I'd be furious. It's just sideways only relative to USD, which has gotten wrecked relative to everything else. That's not just Aave, it's everything. I still have like very minimal DeFi exposure because I used the tulip thing, and that's supposed to be DeFi exposed, and that's basically my way to realize like it just will not go up. It just refuses. It's pain. It's pure pain. Underperforming Bitcoin, underperforming ETH, underperforming layer ones. it's just so sideways. Eventually it's going to be a fantastic move, but it's not right now.
Yeah, I think the fundamentals are still holding it down. ETH fees are still too high on any given day. Anytime I look, it's 100 plus.
And Sheep, to your point, yes, I think the inflation rewards is helping cause the DeFi bear market. People just farm and sell, or stake and sell, or whatever. They just they enjoy selling.
Yeah, I said that about Curve too, because it was one of those that kind of didn't do anything for a long time, but Curve looks okay.
Of these, Curve looks the best. I think if you're going to buy any of them, you should buy the ones that are like really strong fundamentally, the most depressed, and then also their inflation schedule has started to change. So like a lot of Curve is being eaten. It's like really, it's really changed from a token dynamics perspective. So yeah, like of them, I think I like Curve, but it's still mostly a yield bearing asset. So I don't know. It's tough.
I said Link. I said this on Twitter. I knew the Link bots would come after me, but this is the most bearish chart, I think, on any BTC pair.
Do you remember when I talked about it being over for Link and people were a little upset? I mean, we talked about being toppy when it was toppy, when it made that like lower high at the very, very top of the range. But then when it was at that midline of your pitchfork, people got upset when we were saying it was over, but it's over. It's over.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this when it broke the 200. Even before that, we talked about this head and shoulders thing.
Kind of the whole way from the top to the not bottom, mean reversion. We talked about it being over, and it's just it's hideous. It's hideous. This is going to Zcash itself.
Yeah, but to have a 10-month consolidation breakdown, that to me is a head and shoulders. Again, there's no hope there. It's breaking lows. It's not even bull dived yet.
And here's the thing. This is for the Link Marines out there. Look, you did great during the bear market. You went all in Link and you won. Okay? On a relative basis, did you lose all of 2021? Yes. But but does that
Are you about to lose all of 2020?
Yeah, the thing is, you still have time to get out before you retrace all the way back to what you put in 2018, 2019 on a relative basis.
Are the Link people still selling? Hell yeah, they are.
Yeah. You know what? Like they still fund their business by selling their tokens to you, their community. Think about that. Just think about that.
Do I have a vendetta against Link? No. I'm just stating facts here, guys.
Same. Just looking at the charts.
Yeah. It is what it is. I wish it was bullish. I wish I could say, yeah, it's bullish, but it's
Vert said I sold my Link in January. Good on you. Good on you. Well done. Sometimes you just got to know when the game has been played, you know? Like sometimes my kids are like, I just want to stay up another hour. And they don't realize the staying up that next hour is just ruining everything. Like they've hit peak fun, you know? You got to sell the bag. You got to go to bed.
Yeah. That is an analogy, all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't look good for Link at all. I don't really know what else I was looking at. Wi-Fi is just kind of junk. Yeah, alts just look like crap, really.
Dude, that's versus USD. So Wi-Fi relative to ETH has just gotten obliterated.
Yeah, I mean that, I forget which chart it was, but I physically felt ill when I looked at it. That's the same one. Wi-Fi BTC's got to be down. Oh,
sure, it's obliterated.
Remember when it was 2 BTC?
You know what I remember is Jen Spartan at some point was like, I would like to let everyone know that I'm sorry, but I had to tell you this. DeFi is dead on a relative basis. The bear market has begun, and then he's never been wrong since. Like he just was like, it was the Pico top. And then now he just every now and then wakes up and just gives an update on his DeFi relative charts and asks, how y'all enjoying that bear market? It's just like, golly, man. It's already dead. He just wakes up, sells coins, sells his yield, enjoys his collateral in stables and majors. Goodness gracious.
Yeah, I don't. If regulations come for DeFi too, I don't know. It's a give and take between ETH going proof of stake and regulations just ruining everything. So I don't know what's going to win at the end of the day, but ETH fees have to come down.
Yeah. So coming back to this question about, hey, what do you do for 5K? Where's the most upside? And you look at these alts, they look like crap, like majors, mid-size alts, relative basis. They look like crap. Sometimes the best way to upside is maintain your buying power. If your buying power is in Bitcoin and ETH, then sometimes you just need to hold it, be patient. Wait for the thing that's going to be the better setup. The better setup is almost always going to be in smaller caps with good fundamentals. The problem is you probably suck at analyzing fundamentals. So, you know, like I say, get a small cap with good fundamentals and you're probably going to screw it up because you're going to be like, oh, well, Gorilla Coin like looks like it's going to 50x and maybe it will, but it probably won't. So
can I just say, pause for a minute and say, I love how cantankerous you are this morning.
Yeah, I need a Sudafed. I'm stuffed up. I haven't had enough coffee. And people keep telling me like, sell my altcoins for a 2x in BTC? No thanks. And I'm like, well, enjoy your minus 80% BTC then. Like, I will buy your altcoins with 5 times the collateral that you're going to have because you're going to be down and just praying for someone else to pump your bags.
Yeah. I mean, look at ADA BTC. It's down 45% from the top at least. These do not, I don't know. You know, you can only talk so much sense into somebody who's holding this stuff. So, and
you know, the only reason I know is because I've been there. I've been looking at it and been like, ooh, please pump my bags, Mr. Market Maker Whales. They have no interest in your bags. They're very cozy.
Solana looks not great either against BTC.
It's over. It's cooked. It's been cooked.
What else we got on the list here? LTC? Any thoughts on that? I know you have some good
probably
thoughts.
Going to zero.
Love it. See, this is I say this stuff and people are all over me. You say it and they love it.
Because I'm the rotator. I'll be back. I am going to be all in on some of these babies.
Is this all-time low for LTC?
Sure.
I guess, well,
you know, like the S&P just always making all-time highs. LTC always making all-time lows.
It is effectively an all-time low on Binance. Anyway, what about Zcash? You know, we mentioned it earlier. It's got to be.
Zcash is one of those that's going to bottom at some point and just turbo pump. I don't know when, but like this pain that we're describing in like DeFi, Zcash has felt it its entire life. Like DeFi pumped a lot. Like people made 10x their net worth or 100x their net worth rotating DeFi coins. Zcash, their sats just keep disappearing. You know, like look at that. Every time you get a little hopium, it just disappears. But there is a point, like people keep talking about ZK snarks are amazing. They're the future. The cryptography is improving. It's changing. It's becoming better. And then all of a sudden, like, what if Zcash is very impressive technology and it is fast? And what if it does switch to proof of stake and the founder's reward goes away and the inflation schedule goes down and they have another halving and it is a more private version of payments than Bitcoin? And what if you can do roll-ups into it so that you can do like some pretty cool stuff with Zcash? I don't know. Eventually Zcash will have a bull market. Path will be right, and this will have the most incredible pump. I hope to find it, but I ain't buying it right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's never done anything, so that's kind of the story. That's all there is to say. I don't want to hate Zcash, but you know, show me the evidence that this is worth holding ever. There's just none. There's zero.
It's a lot harder to talk about a bunch of altcoins when there's nothing that interests you very much. We got asked about the AVAX ecosystem. I don't have the BTC relative chart in front of me. The USD chart just looks like it's struggling. I was very worried about it when it was at 67 to 70, whatever up here. That's when I reduced my exposure back to Bitcoin. volume is lower and the price is lower, well, those are not good things. There's no proof to me to say I need to buy. I'm going to be looking at follow Avalanche Rush stuff. I don't have to be first on the way back in. I can take my time.
Yes, what are you looking for? Big volume candles and bull divs? Anything else on alts?
Pretty much.
Like this Monero BTC chart is looking
rough.
Like a snack.
I think the biggest thing I want to see on alts would be like high volume capitulation.
It's got this curvature here, this Reaper's sigh of death. Love it. Absolutely.
High volume altcoin capitulation. And I don't know that we'll see that for a while. Like maybe another month. Thanksgiving altcoin bottom. I can see that.
I mean, LTC is already at its all-time low. Where does it go from here?
Lower. More. People are talking about Joe within the AVAX ecosystem. It may look great. I don't know. I have to check it out.
That's the other thing about these older altcoins. There's so many new, shinier toys. People could care less.
There's always a newer,
Zcash, you know?
There's always a newer, shinier coin
or LTC. People could care less.
Yeah, I mean, I do have some exposure to altcoins where I don't have easy liquidity out or whatever. Either they're vesting or whatever else, staked, locked, whatever. The ones I have are like the ones I can tolerate and don't feel like I need to hedge out of necessarily. So it's not like I think everything's going to zero. It's just like most stuff probably go down, and then you'll have like random pumps, rotations, stuff that looks good. If you can find those, go for it. But I don't think like when you look across the indexes of liquid, widely distributed coins, I don't think you're going to find it.
Yeah, I don't think anything looks bad enough to buy just yet on the BTC pair. There's not enough to spare. But yeah, I definitely look for volume. I look for bull divs. I look for bear divs on BTC USD if you're looking to rotate, or just ignore what we're saying. And
I mean, Bitcoin is a real tough location for Bitcoin to do anything elsewhere, because we are right. I mean, just at the tippy top of the prior all-time high, daily closing type of levels, 64K, whatever. We're going to get some kind of like God candles scam, something, volatility soon on Bitcoin. The fact that we just had the ETF, futures ETF go live, and we really didn't, it's just kind of been vertical accumulation, no real volatility yet. We're going to get volatility real soon. I don't know which direction. I'm just going to hold Bitcoin and see what happens. Should we leave it there?
Yeah, I think so. Don't have much else to say for the week, really. ETH looks great still, It's going to move eventually.
Yeah, as long as you're okay with being down in BTC, then ETH looks great.
Yeah.
Thanks for being here. Talk to you later. Go to weeklyopen.com/FTX. Make a trade there today. If you want to capitulate to BTC or counter trade us, you can do either of them at FTX. weeklyopen.com/FTX. Track your portfolio while you're doing it. You can look at it in USD, Sats, ETH, whatever your basis is, and see whether you're doing a good job, bad job. Earn yield on your tokens while you're at it. weeklyopen.com/FTX. Thanks for being with us. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.